They lived their lives saving others, but died tragically at young ages. And now 2 San Antonio police officers killed in the line of duty continue to give life to others in need. Eyewitness News reporter Jeremy Baker shows us how.
Officers Bobby Deckard and Miguel Moreno aren't alive anymore, but their presence is here at the Donate Life Heroes Echo event. In July of 2017, Officer Moreno saved 4 lives after donating his organs, and in December of 2013, Officer Deckard also saved 4 lives after his organs were donated as well.
Life has been amazing.
Gene Dudley was one of the 4 lives saved by Officer Deckard's organ donation. Inside his chest is Bobby Deckard's heart. The Deckard family overcome with emotion as they felt it beating, continuing the officer's legacy.
So to actually get to meet them, which was somewhat recent, just last fall, is pretty amazing.
Meeting them was emotional for him too.
I always wondered, what would they be like, or what was my donor like?
He's alive today because of Officer Deckard and urges anyone considering being a donor to do the same.
The stigma, I understand it, right? But it really is an amazing thing for somebody to do, and such a selfless act.
Last year in Central Texas, South Texas, over 170 families made the decision to donate organs. From that, 568 men, women, and children are living today because of that powerful gift.
75 lives can be saved through organ and tissue donation, but right now only 51% of those in Texas and 54% of those in Bexar County are organ donors. That's why for the next 2 weeks, all SAPD officers will be wearing this lapel pin to bring awareness to the need for donors.
ECHO stands for Every Community Has Opportunity, and it's a national initiative where we encourage diverse communities to sign up as organ, eye, and tissue donors because there's a critical need.
I would want to be remembered in the event of my passing, right, as somebody who gave back, and this is just an opportunity, I would say, to do that.
Jeremy Baker, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.